It's nice to have you here. Um, Members of the public who wish to view but do not plan to make any public content, you can also go and watch on screen and so on and so on. The public may provide public comment in advance of a meeting, etc. We're going to call the meeting to order. We're about 4 minutes past due, and I'm going to ask for the roll call.
Chairperson Dineo.
Here.
Vice Chair Mowers. Commissioner Drysdale. Here. Commissioner Horton. Here. Commissioner Flakus. Here. Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Moore. Here. A quorum is present.
Bravo. Thank you. So now the public is invited at this time to comment on and discuss any topic that is relevant to or within the authority of this public body. Are there any comments? Does anyone wish to make any statements at this time? Hearing none, we're going to move forward. The first thing on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting, which was March the 13th. Did everybody get a chance to review them? Any comments, changes? Hello? No? Anyone want to make a motion for approval?
Madam Chairman, I missed the last meeting, so I'm going to abstain from that vote and the motion.
I will make a motion to, Bethany Drysdale for the record, I will motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you.
Valerie Moore for the record, I second.
Thank you. Since we now, even with one missing, have a quorum, we will have a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries. So we have the minutes from March the 13th have now been duly approved, and thank you very much for that. Next item. Discussion only. Presentation discussion regarding an update on Carson City arts and culture activities, and I think that is Dan and Deborah. And for those who do not know Dan Arp is with Parks, and he has taken Sierra Scott's place, who has left us, and we will be looking for, with an RFP, to find someone to help Dan along. But thank you so much for doing this, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So yes, Dan Arp, Recreation Superintendent for the record. So as far as updates, just on arts and culture, on the Parks and Recreation side at least. So as was just announced, so Sierra Scott, who was the Arts and Culture Supervisor, resigned to move on to a new position elsewhere. So as her supervisor, I'm trying to fill in as best I can in the interim until we can find a replacement. So we do have that position open currently. So if you know of anybody who would be interested in our Arts and Culture Supervisor position, the position is open on carson.org/jobs. We'll be keeping it open for at least a couple more weeks. If we get some good candidates, then we will probably do some interviews after that, or maybe leave it open a little bit longer. But we're hoping with the normal time scale that we have, that maybe we'll be able to get somebody in by early to mid-August.
Good.
We'll just have to see how things go and the candidates and how the applications and interviews and everything go there. But Sierra was in the middle of a lot of projects, and so just kind of some updates on the things that she was working on and that we're continuing. So first and foremost is the roundabout art project, which the RFQ for that is out. It has been out for a few weeks now, and is open through June 30th. So we have a couple more weeks, 3 more weeks that we're going to be accepting applicants for that. We've been getting some in. I think last I looked, we had at least 18 or so that had come in. So they're coming in.
Barbara, Daneo, for the record, and I'm going to ask everyone, if you come up to speak, please identify yourself for the record. Dan, I was going to say, because I was talking with the mayor, and she said they had 10, and you're saying they have 18, and you're going to close it off when?
June 30th.
And I don't know if our audience is aware of the roundabout and/or what this is about. So because this is new, because the board is relatively new, just a few minutes of what is a roundabout, what does it mean? So would you just take a couple of minutes and do that?
Sure.
Thank you.
So the roundabout obviously is the roundabout we're talking about is the large roundabout on the intersection of Stewart and Carson Street. And the idea of that is to have what they're calling the Gateway Project. So some sort of gateway art that's going to be placed in that roundabout that kind of has the entrance into downtown Carson City. And so we have an RFQ out seeking usually projects of this size, kind of large, almost, I don't know what would be the right word for that. Well, yeah, monument, but kind
Monument, state, it's
of the artists that we're seeking for are usually worth like firms and kind of
Firms,
do these
yeah.
bigger projects
Big.
because they're going to be in charge of doing not only the art design, but also the installation and that piece of it as well. So it's a big project. And so yeah, that's what we're seeking applications for, is those kind of artists and firms that take on that project.
and that can be from all over the country and/or the world, whatever, just
Yes,
apply.
all over the country.
And then what will happen? I mean, just kind of a guideline so that all these folks know what we're talking about.
Yeah, so the timeline for that, so yeah, we're accepting applications through June 30th. Then we have a panel that's already been established that is going to review all the candidates, because basically what they're doing is they don't have proposals yet, right? They're just kind of sending us a resume of the projects that they've done. So we're going to review, or the panel will review those and then select 3 finalists of those that we think are the most qualified to do what we're looking for. And then the panel has until July 25th to make that selection. And then on July 25th, we'll notify the finalists. And sometime in August, we'll be looking at scheduling the finalists, those 3 finalists, to come to Carson City if they're not from Carson City already, but to come here, learn about the community, our history, our culture, and to put together proposals that hopefully fit what we're looking for, so they get to, a little bit familiar with exactly kind of, our landscape, our history, all those kinds of things. So, I mean, that timeline could change a little bit, but that's kind of tentatively what we have in place, is hopefully by end of August. I'm hopeful that maybe we'll have the new arts and culture supervisor in place before we can get the visits to come, so that they can start meeting the finalists and start taking over the project from that point on.
So then we choose one that comes before the Cultural Commission, right?
Yeah, so they
Yeah.
will,
I
looking
think
at all my
so.
notes.
And then it goes to the Board of Supervisors.
So it still goes back to the panel, so they're gonna come, but they will be doing, those finalists will be doing presentations here, but ultimately, it will go to the Board of Supervisors for final decision.
Okay. So-
But they will select it down to 1 finalist to recommend to the Board of Supervisors.
And the public can get information as this moves along, how?
Once we get to that process, those, when they actually do their presentations like that, will be public.
Okay.
So we'll have meeting notices. We don't have dates and things for that set, obviously, at this time, but for, the public to come in and sit, and I'm sure we'll have through social media and other things kind of what the proposals are, but ultimately it's the panel's decision and through the commissions here. So it's not like a vote through the community, but they'll be able to see what the process is.
Okay, thank you. I hope that's helpful for everyone so that at least you know that there's a project that is beginning and it has a timeline and so on and so on. And the public will be informed vis-a-vis the internets and the press and so on as to how we're going, and do comment. Okay, Dan, it's up to you.
All right. So just moving on, obviously redevelopment grants are today. We'll be talking about that here later. So I don't really think we need to spend a lot of time on that one. But just other things that Sierra is working on. So we have the Pioneer Center for the Performing Arts. She was working with them doing free community performances here at the Bob Woldrick Theater. We've had a couple of them. We do like one a month. So the next one is July 1st. And then the last one is August 19th. And they're generally on Saturday mornings. But those are free. You have to we do encourage people to register for those, but they're free. We've been getting about 50, 60 or so participants registering for that. Usually we just put up on the stage, but they're free, educational, artistic performances. Each one's a little different. So those are coming up. And then we also are working closely with the Sierra Arts Foundation and offering a lot of art classes. So we've kind of designated this, we used to call it the kinder building, so we ran our kinder programs, but on the south side of this building in the parking lot, there's a little module building kind of next to the aquatic facility. We're now designated as the art building. Eventually, we'll probably go through a proper naming for that. But it's basically looks like it was like a kindergarten classroom. But we have tables and chairs and art supplies in there. And so that's where we're designating these art classes. And so Sierra Arts is coming in, running classes for youth, for younger kids and teenagers at this time.
Do you know how many have attended so far? I know it's filled all the time.
So they were doing, in May, they were doing free workshops. I think they had those capped at 30. And I think for the younger group, they were full. For the teenagers, we were getting about, 15 to 20, which is still pretty impressive for getting teenagers out. And those were free workshops. Now they're doing classes that do cost. And so they've been getting about 15 or so for those out of 20. 10 to 15. So they're not full. There's still space left if anyone's interested. We have those coming up each Saturday in June, so it's a couple more. And then the next thing that they have after that is they're doing an art camp. That's July 31st through August 4th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. So 3 hours a day for those for that week. So that is all of that's available for registration on through Carson City Parks and Recreation.
May I ask our wonderful DA if I could do a plug that anyone who is interested in helping to support this program for kids, because they're not doing arts in the schools and so on, make a donation to Carson City and send it to Parks and Rec, because it will help get more children in. Thank you.
Thank you. And then couple things that Sierra is involved with. We have a music and murals festival coming up the last weekend in September, the 20th through the 30th. So I know that they've been working closely on getting that moving forward, identifying walls to kind of do that as well. And the idea of that one is it's in a weekend. The goal is 19 murals, if not more, depending on funding, but the goal is a minimum of 19 murals knocked out in a weekend throughout Carson City. Not all of these are going to be on public. Many of them probably on private walls, but we are looking at identifying some city buildings as well that we can hopefully use to put some that would become part of our public art as well.
Who are the artists?
That I don't have with me. There's a whole slew of them. I think we got 19. I don't know.
So they've
Okay,
already been
Eric.
chosen. We already know who they are.
Yes. As funding becomes available, they could potentially have more walls available, and so they could get more artists. But I know that I met with Eric Brook, I think, isn't it? And he had 19 artists that were already confirmed for the so.
That's cool.
And then lastly, we're working again with the Sierra Arts Foundation to do a fall art festival out at Silver Saddle Ranch, which is one of our open space properties in the Parks and Rec department. So we're working on getting that going. Probably similar to the one that they did this weekend. That one wasn't done on Parks and Rec, or even on city land. It was on the state lands. But yeah, doing some sort of a art festival out at Silver Saddle Ranch in the fall. So lots of fun things that are new and that are coming up. So that is my update as far as those projects, and turn the time over to Deborah.
Well, if we may, because I think we ought to give a recognition to Sierra Scott for the short time that she was with us in a funded capacity. She had served on the board for a year, but she put into place 5 projects. And I've been on this board almost 12 years, and that's more than we've done in all 12 years. So I think she was working towards bringing Carson City into the Arts and Culture Forum. And I want to say, for one, very grateful to her for her time with us and her efforts. I think that was just remarkable. So thanks to Sierra. And before we move on, I think Michael has joined us. And you want to identify yourself for the record, because you came in a little late. Oh. Yeah, so. Okay, so do you want to identify?
Yes, my name is Michael Smith, and I'm on the board of commissioners It's great to have so many out to the meeting.
Yeah.
But we like to see people come and get involved, ask questions, and be engaged. So, good to see everyone.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, now, Deborah, welcome back from vacation. Lovely to have you, and congratulations on Mark Twain.
Well, I'm going to give a report back, Deborah Soul, for the record. First of all, reporting back on the Mark Twain Days Festival, which I think we'd have to say was a fair success. Attendance by both Carson City residents and visitors was even higher than all of us had hoped and expected. All of the ticketed events sold out for the festival. The bow tie ball was very close to selling out. And the level of excitement and enjoyment, I think, that was the factor that was the most notable, that people were just simply having so much fun. I think they were really ready for something like this. We're already receiving questions about 2024, which will, by the way, shift in terms of dates. It's going to be held, instead of in April, it's going to be the Mother's Day weekend in May. So it's really 3 weeks later, which for 3 reasons. It pushes it 3 weeks later into a safer weather period. It also doesn't conflict with other events. The only other thing happening that weekend is, in fact, Mother's Day on the Sunday. And most importantly, that is a weekend where there are not a lot of other bookings that would cause problems with hotel accommodation. We actually had a significant demand for hotel rooms even this year, with the first year, and a shortage of rooms available. So it was obvious that we had to pick a different weekend, because we do anticipate the festival will grow each year. So it will be the Mother's Day weekend. So we're still running the numbers to try and determine our overall costs, break-even points, profits, and costs. Some invoices just take a lot of time to come in, but we're very close to that, so we should have it soon. And we're also running an economic impact assessment for the festival, so we can really gauge the level of economic success that this festival brought to Carson City. I'm also happy to say that we received a certificate of congressional recognition from Senator Jackie Rosen for the festival, and we've been selected as the best new event by the Carson City Chamber of Commerce, which is really quite wonderful. And so we're very much looking forward to next year. I also just wanted to note, as Dan already conveyed, the Carson City Arts and Music Festival was held this past Saturday, and I think Val can probably share a lot more details about that. It was a Sierra Arts Foundation endeavor, and I understand it was a tremendous success, even though I hadn't arrived back, except for the storm that showed up partway through it. We're working with Eric on the Mural and Music Festival, the upcoming festival, and very excited about that, and working with the organizers now of the Fall Silver State Art Festival. Then the other work that's been ongoing for the last few months is we've, in the Tourism Authority, also been doing updates to the arts and culture component of the Carson City Visitors Guide, which is an important piece
Nice.
of communication about arts and culture for visitors in Carson City. That's it.
I have on my staff summary here that Eric will provide an update. I don't see him. He's not here. But you've essentially told us,
Everything is coming splendidly.
well, that's good enough. Val, would you like to give us a report, please?
Yeah, so we had our first ever Carson City Arts and Music Festival, and we were on the legislature grounds. It's just such a beautiful spot and just so grassy, and we had tons of walk-through traffic. We were busy all day. The artists were super duper happy. It was great working with the facilities manager. They were super helpful, very accommodating until the hail hit, and then that was a little bit epic. But it was a really good event. We already have people asking about, when we're going to do it again next year, and so that will definitely happen. And I think we'll get a lot more artists interested as well, given the positive feedback from the event.
Can you take a sort of a wild guess as to about how many people you think rolled through?
We started at noon, and then pretty much the weather hit at like 1:30, 2 o'clock. So we really only had 2 good hours. But I would say we saw over 250 people probably.
Wow.
We were constantly busy doing sales the whole time, even before we technically started. So yeah, I would say it was really good. If we would have got to make it till 5, I think it would have been a lot more people. So
Well, here's to next year.
yes, we'll
So
get us on the books.
Item 4B, it's discussion only, presentation and discussion regarding the Carson City Cultural Commission's 2022 Annual Report and Work Plan. Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dan Arp, Recreation Superintendent for the record. Not a whole lot, I think, to discuss on this particular topic, just that there was an annual report that was submitted to the Board of Supervisors. I'll just kind of go through some highlights a little bit. But pursuant to Carson City Municipal Code 2.41.060, the Cultural Commission is required to submit an annual report and the work plan to the Board of Supervisors no later than May 1st of each year. Attendance records for the commission's members must be included in the annual report. The annual report covers April 2022 through April of 2023, and the work plan covers April 2023 through April of 2024. So it was all included in your packets. If you see it, so it's mostly just there for your review, just to know that Sierra did submit this. It was presented to the Board of Supervisors on time at the end of April before that May deadline. Mostly it covers kind of just the history of the Cultural Commission, what happened this past year as far as new appointees and people who left the commission. So they covered kind of that aspect of it. Reviewed some of the projects and things that have been working on, which has been a busy year because of all these changes in arts and culture in the city with developing the arts and culture position, the development of that public art policy, which we now have in place that we're following, and then talks about, the Mark Twain Days Festival, which is mostly a CTA project, but something that they were working on together through the city and the CTA. And then the interpretive sign for the Da Vinci, the Mind of Da Vinci was installed.
Thank you.
Um,
Not the homeless guy anymore.
yeah.
Everybody said that. I knew that. Who's the homeless guy? I'm so glad that's up there. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And then just a recount of what happened last year as far as the RAC grants, and kind of a breakdown of the $47,000 that was all allocated last year. And then also part of that plan was the work plan for this upcoming year. So it broke down, some goals, but working on like cultural programs, events and destinations, cultural planning and monitoring, municipal planning, decision-making and placemaking, and then focusing on youth arts programming especially for at-risk youth, if we can. That's a lot of those things that Sarah's been working on. And then just looking for grants and additional funding But that was kind of, a real quick summary of the annual report, but I'd be happy to answer any questions. But that was typed up and submitted by Sierra.
I just have a note that on the work
record?
plan, for the record, Bethany Drysdale, the meeting attendance at the very end of the work plan has me listed as vice chair as of January this year, and it's Susan Mowers.
Susan.
Who should be vice chair, or is vice chair.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll make sure to get that corrected. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Dan, I'm seeing here a piece that talks about September 11th and December 11th, updates on Carson City murals and music, goals and objectives. It's just the future. Was that part of the report?
Where are you seeing that?
Right there. I don't know. I
Yes,
have
sir.
so much paper, I can't even tell you. But it's future agenda items. And it came out with Parks and Rec Open Space Annual Report. Anyway, I'll give it to you and we can talk about it the next time. It's just, I saw it there and I thought, what does that mean? Okay,
Okay, yeah, we can take a look at that.
okay.
Yeah, that was all I have for the annual report. It was kind of just for your information update.
Okay. I suppose, Todd, was I supposed to read the staff summary or just not for items 4B? It was the.
No,
commission shall-
no,
okay.
Madam Chair, you're not required to read the staff
Oh,
summary.
Thank you. So 4C, here's the nitty-gritty. Discussion and possible motion regarding a recommendation of the Carson City Redevelopment Authority, RAC, for the allocation of fiscal year 2024 redevelopment district arts and culture grant funding of up to a total of $25,000 among any or none of the following participants. And then it lists, we have a long list of the folks who have applied. Dan, you want to help me a little on this one because I know that the total request is what?
$72,000.
And we have 25. So we're requesting your patience because this will be interesting. We have received, Michael, did you get the late material?
Yes.
You have, okay. Anybody want to discuss this because this is a first for a lot of the folks here. I mean, I've been through this before, but for many people, this is their first time at this one. So, we have people who are brand new. The redevelopment grant monies is to attract new artists, new projects, to further and grow the arts and culture program in Carson City. It was a $25,000 allocation from the Redevelopment Authority to help in this effort. So over the years since, I think 2015 was the first year that we had them because Ellie was on the board, and so it was 2015. So I pulled up all of those and was looking at all of them as to, who's got money for what and so on. This year, shall I just name those who have requested funding, or do you want to do that? What do you want to do?
I mean, I think however you want to direct me to go, but I can provide some information on just kind of for the public on kind of what the objectives and the requirements were for the grants. And then I think we can kind of dive into who the applicants were and the score sheets and everything like that, if that sounds
Sure.
good to you. Okay. And for the record, Dan Arp, Recreation Superintendent. So for the grants this year, the guidelines that were sent out, I'll just kind of read through a couple of these paragraphs here just so that everyone's kind of on the same page as far as what we're looking for. So the grant objectives. The mission of the grant program is to provide support for new arts and culture projects and events which enhance the cultural vibrancy of the community within the redevelopment districts by implementing strategies in the 2022 and 2026 Arts and Culture Strategic Plan. Events must be accessible to the public, either for free or for a reasonable fee, and should be designed to attract the maximum number of people as appropriate for the project, event, or site. Applicants will be responsible for securing all applicable permits and licenses. As far as eligibility, the grant is open to all Nevada-based organizations, groups, and they may be nonprofit or for-profit. The grant is not open to individuals or public institutions, including school districts, cities, or state agencies or public colleges or universities. Applicant organizations must have an active website with a posted mission statement or active social media presence such as Instagram or Facebook. So we kind of already alluded to this, but if it's a new project, grants are available for up to $10,000. If it's a recurring project, a maximum of $5,000 could be rewarded. There's a total of $25,000 available. And then funding may not be used for an organization's entire slate of events or projects. It's really just designed for a specific one-time event out of the year. Events or projects that serve membership-only organizations or exclude the general public. General operating expenses, including administrative costs, are not costs not related to the project or event. Student scholarships or any re-granting programs, stipends to artists are permissible. Major equipment purchases, property or mortgage payments, or capital improvements such as building construction or renovation. Expenditures for the establishment of a new organization such as legal fees, fundraisers, food, beverage, alcohol, and gratuities for openings, receptions, parties, and other hospitality functions.
This is what we do not cover.
Correct. So that kind of just, I think, hopefully gets us on the same page as what the commission was looking for, what the requirements for the grant are. And then we received 11 applicants. Some of those were duplicates as far as they applied under reoccurring and new events. So it's the same organization, but they've applied twice. About 11 total applications.
Can we talk about that? Because there was a lot of controversy when we re-looked at this whole grant. And it was year after year after year, and then it was, well, now wait a minute, because we're trying to bring in new. So then it went on, if you had gotten money before, there would be a sliding point percentage. Maybe you ought to
Sure.
talk, because that caused some distress.
So yeah, something that was new this year was creating these score sheets that was created by Sierra. And they did do a scale as far as how many times you've repeated and received or been awarded grants and deducted points for that, because we're trying to give priority to new events. So basically how the scale worked was that if it was a new event, then there was no deduction. If it was your first year of a repeated event, then there was a 2-point deduction. For second year, 4 points. Third year, 6 points. Fourth year, 8 points. And if it's been 5 or more years, then you have a total deduction of 10 points.
Okay, there's criteria. I'm just going to add to this. This is Barbara again for the record, so that the folks who are sitting here can understand this is kind of a little complicated. The score sheet has components of what we are looking for in terms of grants, management, you know, the idea, the all of that. How is it working for the community and so on? And there are 5 boxes across the top, and it's 0 to 5 in each one of those boxes, and then it's added up at the end, which would add up to 25 points, which then goes in a long column. If, say, this is the 3rd or 4th time, you're going to lose a lot of points off that 25. It's going to go down 6, for instance, if it's 3rd year, that kind of thing. So I know people were fuzzy and hazy about it, but I want the newer members of the board to understand that because we're trying to encourage new culture, new art, that has to be taken into consideration. The pot isn't very big, so help us get more. Talk to your supervisors. Anyway, really, because it would be wonderful to get $50,000, $80,000, and we can fund everybody, but that's just not going to happen. So, Dan, I'll let you take it from there.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Dan Arp for the record. So yes, we did create a score sheet that had everyone add up their points and had those deductions that automatically applied based off of how many years, and those score sheets were given. So I passed out some late material, which they added to these everyone's score sheets. So for those of you, this first page is really the summary of all of it. I ranked them based off of what the totals that you provided. And how I did that, it was pretty simple. I mean, the spreadsheet basically just totaled them up anyway. The only difference was that this weighted percentage was only mostly because of, on one of the applicants, one of the commissioners did not vote because of a connection. So I didn't want that to all of a sudden naturally have like a way lower score because they didn't receive those. So that's why you'll see on that total score, most of those are like 150 out of 210, because 210 was the maximum amount of points you could receive out of all 7. And then on that particular one, it was a maximum of points 180. So I try to keep it fair, and then that weighted percentage is what the percentage of points out of the total could have been. And so I ranked it based off of that, so that way they still had the same chance of being counted in, even though they didn't have the same amount of, they only had 5 commissioners that voted on that particular, that was for the birdhouse group. So I wanted to make sure, does that make, do I need to re-explain that?
Sam Flakes for the record. Is that to say that it's an average, that you averaged based on how many, the number of commissioners who were able to vote on each?
I didn't average it out. It was still the total number of points. It's just that because we didn't have the same number of commissioners submitting scores for that particular one, there weren't the same total points. And so I just want to make it clear that I based the rankings incorporating that as well. So I was taking into consideration as far as where the rankings go, that it wasn't because they were missing extra votes. Does that make sense?
So someone's score isn't going to be lower because someone had to abstain?
Correct.
Okay.
That was the goal, what I was trying to do here.
Okay. That's important.
So me, for the record, I'm looking at my score sheet because of,
Mhm.
And so we had 11 organizations requesting funding. Of those 11, 1, 2, 3 were new, had never come before the commission from funding. Lots of repeats. So is that score, that deduction of points figured in this? I'm so confused.
It is. I'll pull up. I'll show everybody.
Can you put it on the screen?
That's what I'm working on, yeah.
Madam Chairman, who's new on the list?
The new on this is the Children's Museum of Northern Nevada, Latino Arts and Culture, and Nevada Dance Company. It's a new project. It's just a new title for Pinkerton. Who's been around for a long time.
So this is what the score sheet looks like. I know, sorry, it's a lot of information to get on there. So and you have these copies in your packet as well. So this is the total added with everyone's total. So basically, we'll just go, for example, up here at the top with wild horses because they're on the top. So what I did is I took everybody's score, and you can see I added them all up. So someone gave them an 8, someone gave them a 10, someone gave them a 9. So I added all those up, and then this would be their total score without the deduction. And then they were deducted 8 points because of how many years that they've been applying, with a maximum total score of 134. So that was how the spreadsheet works. And then, so these here are the totals that, based off of your scores, are what are reflected on that first page. I just tried to make it simpler by putting them in order by 1, 2, 3, 4. So you don't have to scroll through this spreadsheet and try and look at the points and see who had the most points. So that this basically does reflect what's on the spreadsheet and does include the deductions if they're a recurring event.
That's on this piece right here that says late material.
Correct.
I'm sorry.
So yeah, so this first page is the rankings, and that's taking this spreadsheet, and I rank them all based off of your scores. And then the second page is this sheet up here, which is the actual spreadsheet with everybody's scores and how the total scores for each category. And then the rest of the packet is everyone's individual score sheet, so you can see the comments and scores. As suggested by our director, I removed your names from that so that it wasn't, who scored what. So they're all anonymous, but you can see the individual scores. But then that second page is what totals those all together. First page is what summarizes everything and hopes to try and make it easier for you.
For the record, can we open this up for questions now? Did everybody read each one of these and think about it? I'm looking at one. I love the idea of the Latino art and culture. But they don't have it's a good idea, but there's no plan here. We can't fund if we don't have a plan.
Madam Chair, Mike Smith for the record, so I'm a little confused. The late material only indicates 2 projects that are new, but I just heard you verbally state that there were
Three.
So
Well,
what are we missing here that's not new on the late material? It's only 2 listed. New.
well, it's the ballet. Who are they? The Wild Horse. Is it Wild Horse? No. The Nevada Dance used to be Pinkerton.
So the three,
It
so
says it's new, but it's new organization at the top, but it's
So it's a new name.
new name.
So what's the third one on the late material sheet? That's the only question I'm trying to.
Oh, God, where is it here? I've got.
So
the-
Dan Art for the record. So the three, so in order to be eligible for $10,000, it had to be new. So the three that have the $10,000 requests
Okay,
are
I
the
see.
3 new. So it's the Nevada Dance Company, which is ranked
Latino
number
Art and
1,
Culture.
the Latino Arts and Culture,
Got it.
and then, yeah, the
Children's Museum.
Carson City Historical Society. They have a new project as well. So they were under the new category.
Okay, but this is the first we've gotten, the Children's Museum of Northern Nevada, which is lovely, but it's just a nice idea. There's no plan here. It's a nice idea.
Madam Chairman, could you tell me who has not submitted before? Or Dan, maybe you can tell me. Who on this list has not submitted for a grant before?
Children's Museum, Latino Arts and Culture.
So I believe those are the 2.
Those are the 2.
And so, yeah, we probably put Children's Museum as well. So there's actually 4.
There are only
Um,
2 new
thr-
ones under the current
So there's-
criteria, is that correct?
Correct.
The way it's written.
So the Children's Museum wasn't asking for the full 10, they're asking for 7. But they would be under the new category as well. So there's really 4 new, as far as new projects, 2 new organizations that we have not seen applications from before.
How is new defined in the criteria?
And also, the Historic Society has 2 projects. One is recurring and one is new. It's a kind of a different little thing that they want to do, so. Yeah, well, yeah, this is difficult.
So looking through the criteria, I don't see a whole lot that really defines new, other than just saying that new events or projects will be prioritized. So it's not prioritizing new organizations per se, just new events. So it could be the same organization doing a new event, and that would get the same prioritization, even if they've received funding in the years past, but for something different.
I want to stay here for those recurring ones, and I know that, Ellie, you've heard me say this for years. Did you increase your membership? That's the whole point of having these events, is did you increase the membership? Are you even a minimal charge to help offset these charges? So I kind of have a little problem with that one if it's over and over and over. But I don't know what to do with these very worthy new ones who don't have a plan. Maybe we have to ask them to further work on it and submit a plan for this next year. And they're certainly worthy, but we'd like to do this, is what they're saying. Well, we need a plan.
Madam Chair, may I
Sure, Sam.
submit a devil's advocate take, which is that a new project may need ironing out just because it's a new project. That, those are things that are going to be figured out as you're doing it, learning by doing.
some don't even have a location.
Okay, fair enough.
And so it's like, now what? Todd, I really don't know what to do with this one. We
So
have $25,000, people, that's it.
So I mean, it's going to be obviously, yeah, $25,000 out of $70,000 in requests. So I mean, I think the goal and what the focus needs to be on is these are your rankings based off of your scores. What I've done here is I left a column. I'll make this one smaller so you can see the whole thing at once with awarded. So as you start plugging in what you want, which ones you decide you want to award, you have $20,000 available, subtract that from it. So you could either decide to award the whole amount or a portion of that amount. $25,000 is the total. But at this point, it's really just up for discussion based off of the rankings that you've provided to kind of decide how you want to allocate that $25,000. And I think that's what the goal of this evening is.
Valerie Moore, for the record. I haven't done this before, so maybe what I'm suggesting is out of line.
Go for it.
But what if we just took like over 60%? And then we took that $25,000 and just divided it percentage-wise, like that's how much they would, is that, I don't, like, it would be a math formula that I don't necessarily know that I know the answer to, but I don't know if we just take like off the top and then just do it mathematically, like break it out. Does that make sense? at
Yeah.
all? And that way it's not that way it's just fair. Like, this was your points you got, this is what you would.
Bethany Drysdale, for the record. I think that's a really fair approach. I wonder, we're prioritizing new events. So if we take a look at the new events to start, we only have 25,000, which doesn't go very far. So then maybe we prioritize what we're willing to cover. Not necessarily covering marketing. They need to come up with their own marketing, but we cover the fee for the artists. I mean, that's what we do, right? Maybe we cover production or facility costs, and we identify some of the needs that then we can cover. So if we're just looking at like the Historical Society new project, artist fees 2,500, materials 3,000. That's kind of the bulk of their request. So okay, they wanted 10,000, but that right there is 5,500. So
Gonna give you a shot at 3?
give a shot at 3.
Can somebody can you plug in something somewhere so we can
Yeah.
see what we're talking about here?
Sure. So you're talking about which one here?
So if we were to take one that's a new one, which is the Historical Society new project.
Well, now they've gotten an award for the recurring, right? No. So
They have two.
you just said 3 for the recurring, for the Historical Society, right? Didn't we just say that?
No,
Or were you saying the recurring?
I'm lost.
Yeah.
The Historical Society new project, so that's the first number 7 on that list. If we were to say, well, they want 10,000, but maybe we don't cover marketing costs. So let's award them for,
We don't cover marketing costs.
right. So maybe what they're requesting in artist fees, they all have a breakdown of where their money's gonna go. So maybe we look then at awarding according to their breakdown and what they're requesting for artists or for location or materials, and look at where those needs come in for the new projects. And by the time we're done with new projects, we may have eaten up the $25,000, probably will have. But that's just one other option of a way to do it.
We could also do good faith, like for the Latino arts and culture, to help them move it along and then really use that money to at least start. So I'm just sitting here plugging in numbers. Anybody else doing that? See what we come up with? We got 25,000 total, kids. That's it.
And to that end, Bethany Drysdale, for the record, the Latino art and culture, their artist fee request is 4,000. So maybe we cover their artist fee for them and award them 4,000. They've requested $1,750 for a facility. So there's 2 items that we could cover for them, and then it's up to them to come up with the rest.
Okay, let's see how it adds up at the end.
So I mean, I have this set up on the spreadsheet, so to try and make it simple for you, I can put those numbers in and it should do it, so you don't have to try and do it on a piece of paper if that's what you're trying to do.
Works
So.
for me. Okay.
So you just tell me what numbers you want me to put in and we'll start plugging them in and we'll see where we go from there. But however
So-
the commission wants to proceed.
This
Can we
is just an
start
experiment,
Number
right?
one at the top, which is Nevada Dance Company, new project.
That's one that you said, even though it's a new project, it's really just a new name.
It's a new name, but it's a new, I mean, they put in a new,
It meets the criteria. as a
it
new
meets the
project.
criteria, yeah.
We should look at it that way.
Do you want to try 3? I don't
So-
know.
Number one, excuse me, Nevada Dance Company, new is number 6.
Yeah, you moved them around. Nevada, it's number 6, yeah. Oh,
So, for the record, Bethany Drysdale, they put in 11,000 for artist fees. So if we were to award artist fees, then that's
We're done.
over what they've requested. So maybe for them, we cover facility costs and production costs, and that's 4,500. Or do we just, are we awarding
I
new
think-
projects the full amount that they request?
I think if we award, my take, if we award an amount, what they do with it, that's up to them. Does that make more sense?
It's easier.
Because you don't want to define something that they're then locked into and they can't use it for something else.
Well, no,
So-
no, no.
And I wrote 3. How do you, come on, guys, what do you think? Give me a number.
I'm confused on what you mean by three projects we're gonna fund?
3,000.
3,000 for them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you want me to try I'll just, so this is all, these aren't final numbers. We're just kind
No,
of playing with this a little
You
bit.
can do
but-
anything you want.
But I'll show you how it works. So if it does that, it should show that we've now awarded 3,000, you have 22,000 remaining.
Bingo. Number 2 on your list is the symphony.
So just keep in mind that both the symphony and the Latino arts and culture are both number 2. They have the same score. So one isn't higher than another, other than you're giving priority to the Latino art and culture because of being new. But just want to point that it goes 1, 2, 2, 4, 4, 4 because they have the same score. So I don't want to think that they're higher ranks just because they're a little bit lower on the list. They're all same score.
3 and 3? 3 and 3?
For both these?
Well,
Yeah.
Michael Smith for the record. So, Latino art and culture being a new project, and we would look at the demographics here in Carson and even the school district, because it has percentage-wise more Latino students.
Yeah.
I think, and it's just me, I'm one vote, but I think we need to consider maybe a little bit more than 3. Because
5?
what they requested for is not necessarily what they're gonna get, because we are really dealing with the small pool of money here, 25,000.
How about
So,
5?
I was gonna say we recommend at least 5,000 for Latino art and culture.
That looks good.
So right now, we down to what?
Well, the symphony,
17.
symphony came in second also, so you have 2 in second place, the exact same score.
Yeah, but the thing about it,
You're wa-
Latino,
You're waiting the Latino because they're.
That's
new.
brand new.
that's what I'm doing because they're brand new. And the symphony,
3?
yeah, let's put that in.
We can move the numbers, guys. I'm trying to be fair.
So I do want to point out as well, Dan Art, for the record, that while the Latino arts and culture is new and they scored the same as the symphony, that the deduction was already taken into account in that score. So they still scored equally with the symphony with the deduction. Well, the symphony had a deduction in place while the Latino arts did not.
Right.
So keep that in mind as well, that those deductions are represented in this list. That's my point, I guess.
What about 2,500 for the Carson Symphony? Just because we gave Latino half, we could give the other one half because they scored the same?
What?
Well, we gave Latino half of what they asked for. We gave them 5 instead of 10. So if we
Gotcha.
give Carson City Symphony that scored the same, half of what they asked for, 2,500,
I think that's fair.
then that's kind of fair.
Yeah.
That's
Get
fair.
half of what they want.
You want to go 1,500? 25?
So right now, we're looking at
This is weird.
14.5 remaining, right?
Correct.
Oh,
We're
he was
doing,
right
we're
here.
doing really well. Okay, Mile High and Nevada Dance.
And Children's Museum, they all have the same weighted score.
The Children's Museum is a concept.
Okay.
It's a new idea.
Why not present the Mile High with 25 and the Nevada Dance with 25?
Sam Flakus for the record. I wonder if it would be to anyone's benefit to maybe, I'm thinking about the word new. To me, the word new says projects that would benefit the most from seed money. So perhaps an idea that is on the ground but needs to get off the ground. Do you know what I mean? That's the way that I see the word new for new projects. You know, it doesn't matter who the organization is. I'm just throwing that out there.
They asked for 7. Oof. Is there anybody here from the Children's Museum? I know they'd been having some issues and that this is a new project with a new leadership. I don't know. Sam, come up with some numbers. You got 25 grand max. What are we down to?
You have 14,500 left.
Oh, we're rich.
So, Madam Chair, can we, since we are looking at the amount requested and we did the aforementioned in halves, can we just maybe consider 2,500 for the Mile High Jazz Band, 2,500 for the Nevada Dance Company? All we're doing right now is putting in the numbers.
Yeah.
And just seeing where we are. And at the end, we can go back and change them and move them around.
For the record, Bethany Drysdale, I think that's a good approach. Just start plugging some things in. We halved the
Yeah.
amount requested for those others. Why don't we just plug in a half
Yeah.
amount for the next two, Mile High and Nevada Dance Company and Children's Museum, because they all scored the same score.
It's Barbara. I really dislike this whole thing. There's got to be a better way to do this because it's just,
There is.
This
I'm-
is
I'm
really-
certain of it.
really hard. Anybody have suggestions?
Sam Flakus. I'm trying to remember my son's math homework. I'm doing some math on my my paper here. If you fit 25 into 25,000 that we can actually give out, how to fit that into 72,000 that was actually requested? Divide that evenly, perhaps. I mean, it's going to come up with a oddball number.
Well, you
But-
got 25,000. If you divide it by 11 organizations to try and give but that,
I feel like, Bethany Drysdale, for the record, I feel like that defeats our purpose of supporting new events.
I agree.
And Michael Smith, for the record, I agree with Bethany saying, it's not a matter of we are doing arithmetic. We take 25,000 divided by 11, that's $2,272 and some change that will be
Not even
awarded
worth it.
all 11 applicants. And that's not the true essence
Let's not do that.
of what it is. So I just like, I kind of like the approach we're taking now. We can go back and renegotiate, relook at the numbers, and obviously we want to give some priority to the new projects if they meet the criteria. I mean, as we get down to, and I have issues with the Carson City Historical Society as well as the recurring project. When I look at the verbiage of the grant, it's almost a carbon copy
Yeah.
of what each is saying. Number one, it's an inactive website, unless they made it active last night. So there were things that I saw did not meet the criterion. So we need to focus and concentrate on who meets the criterion,
Right.
the new project, and then, folks, let's deal with the small amount of money that we have to make it fair. But yet, at the same time, we want to introduce or reintroduce new artists, new culture activities and programs to this city and to the Alter and Cuts Foundation and to the persons who actually took the time to put this together with some fidelity.
We're with you. At least I am. Everybody else feel like that? Sam?
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody's feeling this way. Okay. Now what?
So
I want to ask, I love the Historical Society. I really do. But I look at Carson City and I think we've got that wonderful museum up over the old legislature building. We've got the Nevada Museum. We've got the Roberts Place. Can any of those help the Historical Society? Can any of them step up? Why, are you having to go out and beg, borrow from the rest of us? I just think there are other opportunities, and I wonder if there isn't a way that perhaps we could help you talk to these folks or say, this is important to the city, help them.
Well, all these other museums are fighting for their own survival too.
Well, yeah,
They're they're digging out of the same pot.
yeah.
I mean, I'm involved in the Railroad Museum, and I
Oh.
if yeah, it's it's a struggle for anything, and unfortunately, when you're searching for grants, you're climbing over each other. You're in competition with your own community.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of times what it can devolve into.
I mean, and I'm going to say it. I get in trouble, but I'm going to say it. The fifth platform for the city is arts and culture. They have to fund it. To date, zip. And the redevelopment put in the 25. And I think if arts and culture are truly important, then they have to step up, not just in improving the model, but funding it. That's all I have to say. So let's get back to what are we doing with these ones that we haven't put monies in?
Now,
I think we should determine who we don't think deserve the funds and take those off the plate
Michael Smith for the
right
record.
away.
I personally feel that the Carson City Historical Society, the new project, along with the recurring project, we need to remove them from the table. Here's an organization that's been in existence for 53 years. I mean, there has to be some, out of 53 years, you would think that there was a way that they can get funding. Maybe their marketing plan needs to be a little bit more robust. I mean, that's just my opinion. And plus, it is almost, you type in the same thing. It mirrors exactly. Commissioner board members, if you really read this like I did,
Yeah.
it's the same thing. And it's a non-working website which deduct points from it. So personally, in my opinion, I think we need to remove the two number 7s off for consideration.
Sue, you can come and speak, yes, but identify yourself, please. I know Sue Ballou is the president of the Historical Society, and I know this is difficult. The first time they came to us was last year, and we were happy to help them. So now here we are. Sue, would you identify yourself for the record?
I'm
please?
Sue Ballou. I'm president of the Carson City Historical Society, and I would like to note that our website is working. I don't know why it wasn't working when you tried it, but it is working. It's been working for years. Secondly, we have gone through this social change over the years of bringing people in, and then we had the pandemic. And that was the main purpose for asking for money, because we don't have an income all the time. But the boost of the grant helped us a little bit with paying for entertainers and paying for production costs, and it was just wonderful. And we don't need all that money, but we would be very grateful to receive some. And the new projects are new, and the recurring projects we did have last year. So
How many members do you have in your membership?
About 60.
Have
And
you
we
done
got-
a drive in the community to get more members? I know I
When-
asked that to Ellie years ago, was building members means you're bringing in more
Right.
of the community.
We have, when we had the Christmas tour, we had a whole bunch of people to rejoin. And so also before I came, the society was about ready to fold up. And that's one thing that's not going to happen as long as I'm around. So
Good.
we need the funding to keep this on. My folks did this before and I want to carry this on.
Okay, and what do you have in reserves?
We have, Cassie?
I can
think we have
look it up on
20,000.
your sheet. Well, that's, I mean, you have to accrue funding so that you continue your efforts.
Right.
Well, let us think now. Thank you for that information. Let us think about 2 projects, 1 organization. What is the feeling about having, we like the Historical Society. We can give some help, as the president has said, that a little helps. So what's the pleasure?
Well, for the record, Bethany Drysdale, I do want to note that the recurring project for the Historical Society, we received an update that's a $2,500 ask, not $5,000. So that should be reflected on this.
Okay.
Curtis Horton, for the record, the website is working. I just checked it myself. And I think the Historic Society is an important member of the community, and their contributions are valuable, and they should be considered, especially the new project, just like we've considered other new projects, with all due respect.
I'd like to suggest 3. I want to put a number in there, and if we have money left over, we can come back to it. But we need to move this on, folks. What do you think? Anybody want to up it, change it?
The
And-
children's,
Oh.
look at the Children's Museum also. That's a new project.
Yeah.
And we should talk about it in the same fashion that we talked about the Latino project. They don't have a plan.
Yeah.
They are flying by the seat of their pants to some degree. And as we stated earlier, they're gonna learn as they go, right? Same thing with the Children's Museum. And when you're talking about things that introduce arts to children, those are important things to do. And that brings a focus into the community. So consider that as we move forward as well.
It's an idea. It is not a plan. Thinking we could do it in the fall, we could have 2 days, we could do whatever. That's what's hard for me is I'm willing to support something that I can get my teeth into that you're going to be doing. But an idea, it might not ever come to pass. And the person who's running the place might be leaving. I don't know. I want to see a plan that somebody could pick up.
Sam Flake is for the record. Whenever you're funding a new project, it's an experiment. It may or may not work, and if it doesn't work, that's how it goes.
But
for next time.
it has a skeleton, Sam. This doesn't even have that.
Okay, I understand, but there are no guarantees.
Yeah.
In anything, not in
anything.
any business, not in an art project. I start things all the time that I wish I hadn't started. And that's how it goes. You need to, who would want to retile their kitchen if they knew how much work was going to be?
Don't go there on
I-
billions.
You know what I mean? I just, sometimes an idea is as good as it is, and just seed money.
But Sam, we all have ideas. I could give you 10 ideas for 10 different things we could do in town, but I don't have a plan, and I don't have a number, and I don't have a staff, and I don't have a what do we need. I want to see at least a skeleton and at least how it's going to come together.
Sure.
Is what I'm feeling at this point.
Yeah.
So I think, thank you, and I want to say to them, put together a plan and come back to us.
Okay. Yeah, we should definitely be prioritizing projects that have done their homework, that they know exactly what they're getting into. I'm not saying that we shouldn't,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I'm loath to look down my nose at applications that maybe had, you wonder why they picked the person that they picked in order to put this application together. But that's not about the application. It's about the meat and potatoes of what they're trying to do.
We can only work with the black and white. That's what we have.
Okay?
Okay, Valerie or Bethany,
I
Mike?
have a Bethany Drysdale for the record tangent, but I promise it's it's valuable, I think. For the next go around of this, could we have a grant workshop or like a Q&A session and advise applicants on what they need to include? So because if we all think differently, somebody may look at this and be like, well, that is a plan. I want to do this, 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 and this. And so if we can advise them, maybe they can meet with us and advise them on what we might be looking for before the application deadline. I'd
I
like
would
to see that.
urge the board to consider revising the criteria and to be more specific and to sit down and work on that internally as we move forward to the next round, because it's a little open.
Yeah, Chris, we had that for years. We had very definite, right? Ellie can tell us it was very definite criteria in what we were looking for, and now it's gotten into the fuzzies. Well. Ellie, please come up here and identify yourself. We all know you, but.
Eleanor Bugley for the record, and I used to be on the commission.
Yep.
And I was one of the people who said we need to have scoring criteria. We need to have a rubric. Now we have it. We have numbers. They allow you to give extra points for good plans, to leave out points for not developed plans, to take deductions for recurring plans, regardless of how I personally feel about that. You've put all that work into it and ranked them, and now you have proportional scores. You have a total amount of money. Just proportionalize the money according to the rankings that already include all the criteria, and you'll be done.
Works for me. How about everybody else?
Excellent point.
Bethany Drysdale for the record. It is an excellent point. I don't want to lose the focus on new projects that may have scored lower, but they're new, and that's the point of this. So.
But they had no deductions. The recurring had deductions.
Right.
So that's already built in, as
Yeah.
Dan said.
Yeah.
And is there any appetite to, I think you mentioned this, Val, of
yeah.
dropping off some from the bottom, so we're not necessarily trying to divvy up between 11, but maybe the most worthy
That-
7 or
Yeah,
whatever.
Valerie Moore for the record. I personally don't think 11 should be on there. I didn't feel like that. It just sounded like a farmer's market to me.
It is.
And so I personally didn't think that applied. What I would do is do Children's Museum of Northern Nevada 2,500, because they're all scored the same. That way they'd all get the same award. And then the remaining ones, if I did my math correctly, leaving off number 11, gets $1,400 each.
We gave the Latino arts and culture half of what they asked for. Why not the Children's Museum?
And we could.
We did
I
not
mean-
give them, excuse me, Michael Smith for the record.
Oh, no, we didn't give. no,
We didn't, Curtis, we didn't give him half. It was 4,000. Half of 10 would be 5.
5.
Yeah, it's 5.
Says 5. Yeah, it started out 4, Mike, but then it changed to 5.
Okay, all right.
So
My
where are
mistake.
we number-wise? What's our total so far? Where are we?
As of right now, you have 9,500 left, according to this distribution.
Okay. I want to speak for CCAI, the Arts Initiative. CCAI works year-round in 4 venues, 3 times a year, changing art, bringing brand-new artists. They have openings, it's at the Brick, it's at the college, it's at the legislature, and it's at the courthouse. And it changes all year long, and they bring in some wonderful art. And they have one that's for kids, where it's the high school kids, including Douglas, where they award scholarships. They do an amazing job. I'm sorry that it went to the bottom, but that's where it is. I would hope that we would give them some money, because I for one would like to suggest a couple of grand and call it a day, and maybe the same with Wild Horse, and maybe a little more. I don't know. I knew we were going to get bogged down in this.
So,
Sam Flakes, for the record, I think Nevada Dance Company would be pretty upset with us if they
Yeah.
scored the top and didn't get everything that they asked for, so that they could have a little bit of money that they could barely do anything with.
We gave them 3. We suggested 3. At least that's what I wrote down. What'd you put up there? I can't.
3.
3. Give them 4.
Bethany Drysdale for the record. If we were going, as we've done with the others, awarding half of what they requested, then that would actually bump them up to 5. So,
If you did half of everybody there, you're way over
No, no.
25. We can't do that.
because according to the criteria, they're a new project. So that's why I believe we awarded some of the others half of what they requested because they're new projects. Just throwing out numbers.
Well, the dance company is not new. I mean, it's,
Technically,
Yeah, technically.
it says no.
speak. Come on. We need to hear.
My name's Joe Infantino. I'm the president of the Nevada Dance Company. So the new project is, well, let me explain a little history. The reoccurring project used to be called the Pinkerton Ballet Theater. It has sponsored the Nutcracker every year for the last 33 years. 2 years ago, the board of the Pinkerton Ballet kind of disbanded, walked away, and we have come up with a brand-new board. And part of the brand-new board is we have 2 new creative directors that have taken over the Nutcracker, and they wanted to develop something to promote ballet and dance in the Carson Valley other than just the Nutcracker. So the new project took place in April, and it was called New Beginnings. And what it is it takes, what happened was we have now a pre-professional group of young people between the ages of 12 and 16. And they are pretty much committed to try to make this their career. It's open to everybody in the Carson Valley. And we did 2 performances, one here locally at the Brewery Arts Theater, and sold out. And basically what the New Beginnings is they took these pre-professional dancers, which I have to admit, because I've watched them, they commit not only Monday through Friday to their regular dance classes, but Saturday from 9 to 5. It's kind of like SEAL training for ballet kids. And like I said, they're between 12 and 16 years old. And they have to commit to every rehearsal. They did do this, and they got to dance with some professionals that we had hired from San Francisco and other local areas that have been touring professionals to dance together with these kids so they could develop and understand what it takes to become that in a career. So the reoccurring is actually for the Nutcracker, basically. And the new project is this New Beginnings, if I can call it that as a title.
Sure.
And this is the development of these young people that want to maybe use dance as a career. I just wanted to explain that so you understood the
Thank you,
difference
that's very
between
helpful.
the new project and the old project. And yes, the name changed because I guess the old guard left, and we thought the Nevada Dance Company, which are a couple in the state of Nevada, but this was kind of the northern Nevada. And we've done the dog days up in Reno and with a pre-professional group as well as some professional dancers. And we're going to do that again. So this is, and I'm not trying to influence you as far as money concerned. I just wanted to explain what the difference was so you understood it wasn't just a name change.
I appreciate the makeup of the people who are with you, and having taught tap and ballet as a young person, I like bringing the young people in. So, I mean, that's our future here in town. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
So having said that, I would like to suggest we make that a 5. I mean, we can change the numbers, but if they ask for 10, we give them 5, the new ones, because we did that with Latino art. So, is that fair? Okay, cool. Next.
Sam Flake is for the record. So I was doing a little bit of math here, and if we brought those totals down, like the Children's Museum is asking for 7,000. If we gave them half, that would be 3,500. The Historical Society, if we gave them 5, that leaves 1,000 left.
But we're not, have we figured out what we're doing with Wild Horse and Capital City and?
I'm just thinking that if we went down the list by scores, then if you gave everybody half of what they asked for, and then, you know, what was left was that $1,000 that you would go to that last item, which is the recurring project from the Historical Society. Mathematically, that's what's fair with, only fair as of the math, as the math works out.
Great idea. Plug it
Yeah,
in. Let's look at it.
3,500 for the Children's Museum.
Are we going to start at the top and work our way down with half?
Plug in half
After.
for everybody and let's see where we're at.
Half for everybody? See where we are?
Just half for everybody until we run out.
And taking off number 11, right?
Yeah, you're gonna have to.
That as a motion, by the way, if we are taking an organization off, I think somebody ought to move that and second it, because I think we need to have that in the record.
We,
Could I speak to our organization?
Sure.
Travis Legatsky with the Downtown Vintage Market. I just wanted to comment on being possibly taken off. As you all know, as of this year, downtown lost its only weekly market, and it moved over here to the
The farmer's market. We
yeah,
still have it.
absolutely, yeah, but it's not in downtown anymore. So the downtown community is feeling a big loss from that. And there's a lot of businesses in downtown that are like, gosh, we just took a hit not having the farmer's market with us. Absolutely, they needed shade. They had issues that needed to be addressed for the market to grow.
They had
and
been
everything.
on Curry Street forever.
Yeah.
And then they moved to downtown, one season? And-
Absolutely. And so, and Curry is in downtown, yeah. So our market, just last year alone, we put over 65 individual local artisans and makers directly to market. And it was absolutely, where we were in our proximity to where the farmer's market was. We utilized 5 different local musicians, and we're trying to keep and build a weekly market in the downtown district. That is part of primarily what we are trying to do. And in response to, there being another market or weekly market or farmer's market, both Douglas and Reno have multiple weekly markets. So even Douglas, which is smaller than Carson City, has 2 weekly markets in different, it's a normal thing. So in our community, having multiple markets serves 55,000 people.
We're
So,
talking
yeah.
arts and culture.
And we put on, 65 individual local artisans to market. So, and that's how we help them go from being an artist to being an artist who sells their art. So it's the transition between being an artist a local crafter, and then actually being a business person. So it takes connecting the art to the market. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Sam Flakes for the record. I just want to add to what Travis said. And full disclosure, Travis and I are buds. We've known each other for a while through the Historical Society and working on Adele's, doing the salvage on that. And I had to recuse myself from the score sheet when I got onto their application because
Yeah.
I was the one who drew the map. So there was no getting out of that. I couldn't
Yeah.
I couldn't help them with that. So but I do agree that you know, the venue, sometimes just the venue is important for and this doesn't affect our score sheet at all. I mean, I'm really sorry, but you're not getting any money from us. But I do encourage you to look, you know, elsewhere within the city. I mean, there's been a lot of support for these kinds of things, and as an artist, you know, these kind of opportunities, they come up, and it does support the arts. And there are so many other things that support the arts that doesn't have to go through the Cultural Commission through public funds. But you know, I support you.
You can also encourage the Board of Supervisors to provide additional funding. So,
Yes.
moving right along, let's get this going.
So
Who wants it?
foregoing the request,
We're 1,000 over.
if you ignore the amount requested and you simply look at the ranking and base the money on the ranking, think about that.
So Bethany Drysdale, for the record, right now we're 1,000 over. The new projects, if we fund them at 50%, as we've done here, there are, I believe, 2 that are not new projects that also have 50% right now. If we were to knock them down 500 each, we'd be even. That's a thought. That's the Mile High Jazz Band and the Nevada Dance Company recurring project.
Valerie Moore for the record. I also think we should consider the Historical Society and the Dance Company that have 2 grants requests, that we only honor one of them. They're going to do what they're going to do with the money regardless.
That makes sense.
It's all in the same pot. No? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's the same people doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Different day, different project, but it's the same folks. I'm really trying to hold out for CCAI because I know how important that is to this town.
Do we know why they ended up at the bottom?
I don't know. I gave them high marks. I don't know about anybody else
Did
because
I?
people don't know what is an arts initiative, I think. Just know it's
And-
for changing all year long, they change.
And that goes to my point. That's a venue that supports the arts. It's not art itself. It's the venue that supports artists, you know, everywhere. And that's
And
what makes it an asset.
they curate them, place them, show them, take it down, put it up, and you wouldn't be getting these artists from all over the state having these shows if we didn't have CCAI. I think they're of great value. I know the legislature folks think so because they see that art 3 times a year. It's changed. So I don't know. I would hope we would do at least 1,000. And what's with Wild Horse? That's Sierra Scott's mom, and they do good work. I don't know.
Wild Horse, I scored toward the bottom because I didn't think that Finding Nemo was very relevant to Carson City and Lake Tahoe, unless they wrote into the script that somehow the fish end up in Lake Tahoe and they become freshwater fish. That's a stretch. I don't
Children
know.
love it.
I know they do. I know. But
Trying to get kids to come to see live shows.
They love the Children's Museum
They
also.
love.
They love going there. They
You know.
love playing there and have activities there.
yes,
I get it.
Took my grandkids there.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I know.
So Michael Smith for the record. So is it my understanding, the gentleman that came to speak with the Birdhouse Group, that we are leaving you guys out?
Mm-hmm.
Did you say that you would remove you from the list? Did I hear that correctly?
No,
Okay.
Sam said that. Yeah.
Well, that's why I asked. Yeah.
Yeah, the writing was on the wall. That's all.
So, Madam Chair, you know, I know we have the weighted score, and we all vary in how we mark each applicant. So sometimes we can't remove personal from the rankings and who should get what. And I know in all fairness, the question, do we want to give everybody something? But it also states in the criterion that either all or none or some do not receive in the funding. So and we probably have some close to individuals who are here, who've heard them speak, and we know they probably do good work. But okay, so two things. Are we going to award everybody something just to say, well, they got something because we were working with $25,000? And somebody may get 1,000, somebody may get 1,500, and at least everyone gets something. Or we're going to take the look at the applications and look at how it was presented. Did they adhere and meet the criterion that the application called for in the grant? Because if we all were to go around the dais right now, we can all have some things and questions that we have about the applicants. But we'll be here all night to ask those questions and have the person that come up here. It's almost like defending a dissertation.
And they weren't required to be here.
Exactly. So I still like I don't know which commissioner mentioned, that maybe next year that we have them to come and we talk about the process of the grant application to ask their questions so they can know what it entails. Because I don't believe that everybody, the same person, is writing the grant for the applications. I think that person varies. It just depends on who is the best writer on the board or the nonprofit, or what person decided to do it this year or this time. I think we owe that as a body to have a session where they come in, ask questions, and we lay out the criterion and tell them, this is this rubric, this is how we score, and these are the things that you need. Now, I heard Commissioner Horde mention, well, there must be something wrong with my website, but I can't find Carson City Historical Society on the webpage. And I don't know if it's my phone or me or what have you, but I still want to go back to that. I'm not saying we don't have to award them anything, but it's the same information on these two different applications. The new project and the recurring project, they mirror one another. So let's decide right now as a board. Do we want to give everybody something to say this is 25,000, damn, we got it? Or do we want to really just look at every applicant and say, they met the criterion, we need this in the city, I think they would do great work, and let's decide what we want to award them. I think, and let's all remove feelings from our weigh-in and decide who's gonna get what. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Thank you. It's Barbara for the record. I want this on the record. From the inception of the RAC grant of $25,000, and Ellie can attest to it, every organization made a presentation. They did that. That has all been changed in all of this rankings and ups and downs and ins and out, and totally different. We've been through that process, and it works. What's happened is we've gotten many more applicants. We didn't used to have this many applicants. I look at it from the standpoint of, yeah, they're all great organizations, but what are they bringing to the public, the community, to be engaged in, to view, to see, to participate in? That's what we're supposed to be doing, bringing art and culture to Carson City. So I kind of look at these and I'm thinking, well, how is that meaningful to, and who's getting really good audiences? And are they out there saying, hey, go see this, go do that? So we've tried every way, apparently, and it's come to this, which I don't like at all. And I agree with Bethany. We need to have a workshop to sit down and hammer this out. What is it that we're looking for, and make it very specific? How do y'all feel? Valerie?
I agree. And my first time doing this kind of situation, it's been overwhelming a little bit because obviously you want to give everybody money and you just can't. So I agree for next time.
Sam Flakus for the record. What I'm stuck on is I'm trying to thread the needle with giving, the most qualified applicants the, amount of money that would actually make a difference with, for their program. But I also want people who didn't quite make it to feel supported. I mean, we're here to support the arts and culture in Carson City. The arts and culture, the people who are actually doing it, they need to feel supported. And like, we want them to come back next time to try another application again. So that's where I'm at. And that's why I think giving half of everything that they asked for until, for the top 5 applicants, 6 applicants, that's what makes sense to me.
Bethany Drysdale for the record. I don't think giving everybody something is the best use of the 25,000, because some of this, you can give somebody $1,000 and that's not going to do it. Might as well give them nothing, because that's not going to be enough for them to actually do anything with it. I like how we've broken it down so far. We are 1,000 over. I also, I'm sure I'm not alone. I spent hours going through these and ranking them. I took into account everything that we've been talking about, how it serves the public, how it brings arts into the community. And I think we may all look at that through different lenses, hence the different scores. But we've all done this already. We've already spent hours doing this. So I think now we have the scores in front of us as they've shaken out, and that's what we have to work with. So I think we need to give the ones who scored the highest. Through collective scoring, they have shown that they have the biggest impact or the most artistic and cultural benefit to the community, and just start awarding money, starting at the top, going down the line.
Valerie Moore for the record. What if for the Historical Society, instead of $5,000, we knock that down? I would say knock it down to like 3,500 and then divvy up the rest, or 2,500 even amongst the other 3, leaving off number 11. I don't know what that number is. But.
I like that suggestion and your thought, but I would like to offer another suggestion, and based on what Bethany just stated. I'm sorry, Sam. If we look at the weighted scores and we take the top weighted scores, because, we know they put the work together. We don't want to seem that our work is in vain for actually grading the scores and coming up with it. So for basic math, Dan, we can do this just to show a pictorial view. So the Nevada Dance Project 5.
Excuse me, can you change the number? Can you try that? Can we just put down what you're saying?
Can he put it in the screen just so we can have a visual? So,
Yeah.
so Sam, I'm sorry, Dan, leave it Nevada Art 5 where you have it. The next one for the Carson City Association, 2,500. Latino 5,000. Mile High Jazz Band, 2,500. Nevada Dance, 2,500. Nevada Museum, 3,500. And where are we now? Take off the 5,000 for the Carson City Historical Society. So they give us a remaining 4,000. And let's go with the Carson City Historical Society, 4,000. Now we are at what? 25,000.
25.
Because if you really want to be fair, let's give the Carson City Historical Society new project 2,000, and let's give the Carson City, no, 4,000 because they have two. But the next score was the Wild Horse production. No, so that's my suggestion. Right here, we have 25,000. So folks, what have we done here? We have taken the top rated rankings and we have cut everything down to 50%, which yields the amount of the grant of 25,000. So that's just my suggestion.
How many really understand Wild Horse, really understand Capital City Arts, really understand what it was you were looking at? It's because the board is new, it has a lot of stuff in the past, you have no idea, what it's about. I know what Capital City Arts Initiative does, and I've helped them, and I think it would be really sad to not at least something. That would be almost criminal.
Um,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Valerie Moore for the record. I think CCI should get something and Wild Horse, and I think Historical Society should get 1,500 and break up the rest at least.
I think this is Sam Flakus. I think we all knew what we were doing when we were looking at the paperwork.
Right.
I mean, we scored them to what we thought. And, there's a reason we're all here on a panel is because we come from different backgrounds. And, I have never been involved in dance ever in my life, but I'm also going to see it as an asset to the community because I know that it's important to other people. And so it's like, yeah, okay, Nevada Dance Company, that would be a good investment of public money, right? But then you go down to, things that end up on the bottom. And, I have a total bias for the Birdhouse Group. I really understand what they're doing, but they ended up on the bottom, and I'm going to respect how it scored. That's where it landed because everybody on this panel did not see it as being that important, and I'm going to respect those results. I think it would be very unfair to, undo the work that we've already done to, divvy up money just the way that we're feeling right now. We already had it in writing. It's been mathematically calculated, and you don't want these different organizations spiting each other. We want them to feel supported, but we also don't want them to feel like they should be having to climb all over each other in order to get money that they need.
Michael Smith for the record. Well, Sam, I agree with you, but if the RAC committee could give us more money, we can do more things, and probably every 11 organizations who have been awarded something this evening. But I want to go back to the weighted value. If we look at the suggestion I just made, it's just only a suggestion. Looking
it's a
at
good
the
one.
weighted values of those numbers, we awarded 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of those based on the weighted value, 7 of the applicants. And the rest of the applicants just didn't meet the muster this time on the scores. I like what you said. I think we all really graded these not just on the knee jerk or we give them a score, and we come from different backgrounds. I have had numerous work in evaluating scores and things. I know we all come from a different skill set, but I would like to respect that the scores we gave the applicants are those scores. And I know, Chairman Barber, you feel passionate about awarding the Capital City Arts Initiative. I realize they do a lot of work in the community, but we have to take a look at the weighted scores. The numbers are what they are. It's the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank
Hey, whatever this board decides on, is somebody are you all in agreement that this works and that you're all happy with it? Because if you do, then somebody needs to make a motion. I cannot.
Madam, anybody want to make the motion?
I move to approve the scores that we have presented right here.
Michael Smith, I second the motion.
Would you be willing to amend it to say that it's to fund the Carson City Redevelopment District Arts and Cultures grant request? Because that's kind of what it is. So it's not just, oh, I think we ought to approve the money. It needs to have a name of who is it
Okay.
and what is it for?
This is Todd Reese for Deputy DA for the record.
Good.
Also, my recommendation would be or my request would be to phrase it as a recommendation to the board instead of an approval.
Okay.
So I move to recommend to the board.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
however you want to phrase it.
I move to recommend to the board the request for the redevelopment funds for as
2023?
amended. I'm making
If-
this up off the
if-
top of my head here.
Sure, if I may, how about, I move to recommend to the board distribution of the $25,000 in the amounts discussed on the record.
But Todd, don't you also need to list them? You know, like a list, I move to recommend, for example, 5,000 awarded to Nevada Dance Company, so forth and so on. I mean, would that
If,
be?
if you would like to set that out in the motion, I'm okay with that. However, if everybody's good that what we have up on the screen is the recommendation that you would like to make, you can kind of you can also kind of say as discussed on the record or as agreed on the record. Either way works for me.
So it has to include the years. So it's 23, 24. So we're recommending to the Board of Supervisors, yeah. Yeah, read the title into the motion. I know, but it goes to the Board of Supervisors and it's
Oh, I know.
2023, 24 Carson City Development District Arts and Culture grants. And then in previous minutes over the years, they've all been listed. Because if somebody in the public wants a copy of the minutes, they need to be able to get it. So I think you have to list in the minutes the awards. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Where's Sam?
Hey, you put me on the spot. That's you. It's your fault. That's what they all say. I move to recommend the for the fiscal year 2023-2024 grants. Nevada Dance Company, new project awarded $5,000. Carson City Symphony Association awarded $2,500. Latino Art and Culture awarded $5,000. Mile High Jazz Band awarded $2,500. Nevada Dance Company recurring project awarded $2,500. Children's Museum of Northern Nevada awarded $3,500, and Carson City Historical Society new project awarded $4,000. Can I have a second?
Madam Chair, before the second, may I offer, a friendly amendment here? Because he didn't mention the Carson City Redevelopment District Arts and Culture Grant. So, I think that needs to be stated in there, just for the record.
There hasn't been a
Unless-
second to the motion.
Right,
so you
unless
can
he
just
would
add
likes
it.
to, try that again.
Will the motioner please accept that addition?
I'm not trying to make.
Motioner will accept that addition.
Want to add that, Michael?
Yes, we will add Carson City Redevelopment District Arts and Cultural Grants.
Okay, is there a second? Well, no, wait a minute, is there any discussion? Because, no, we've got a second.
Yeah, discussion, Charlie.
Now you can discuss. Anybody want to say anything from here?
Bethany Drysdale, for the record, I won't try to quote whatever the saying is, but something along the lines of, if everybody goes away happy, you haven't done your job. So I think we did a good job here. I think we did this in good faith and this is worth, it's $25,000 and it's worth some battle and some discussion. So I think we did a good job.
Yeah. All right, on the motion, and we're going to do a roll call, please.
Chairperson Deneo.
Aye, yes.
We don't have Vice Chair Mauer. Sorry, I have to bring up my little notepad here.
Like, who are you?
Commissioner Drysdale. Commissioner Horton.
Aye.
Commissioner Flakus.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Moore. All right, motion carries unanimously.
Work. It's not an easy thing to do, and we hope that you all understand, and hopefully this time next year, we will have double the awards monies to give to folks. But stay tuned and keep in touch with the city. Go online, read what they have there, and get educated in terms of the community. We're going to move along now to item number 5C. Wait a minute, where am I here? Oh, I'm in the wrong, geez, I have so much paper, it's unbelievable. Item 5, yeah. Item 5. What am I looking at here? I'm looking at January's agenda. Jesus God. And that's minutes. I got to get down to my agenda because we're down to everybody talking about, okay, now we have non-action items for discussion only. The first is comments from members of the commission. Anybody want to add anything going on in your world, in your organizations you want to share in the minutes?
Madam Chair, I just have Michael Smith for the record, just a question. I'm just curious if we can share this information, but did Sierra Sierra Scott, did she go to another department with the city or?
No,
Okay,
another organization,
okay, got it.
but that's not for the record. Go ahead. Is that it?
That's it for me.
One quick comment, Bethany Drysdale for the record. I sit on the Reno Tahoe Airport Authority Arts Committee. I think that's the name of the whole
Good,
committee.
with Larry Harvey. Good guy.
And we just awarded a contract to an artist for the first public art installment at the airport. It's a $50 million expansion at the airport. The award was, I don't remember, $250,000, I think, for this artist to put in a 450-foot by 7-foot art piece over the ticketing counter. So it's going to be very exciting. It'll be in by next January. So please do check that out.
Thank you, happy to do that. Future agenda items. Now, Bethany, you suggested that we sit down and talk about this whole process.
Yes, Bethany Drysdale for the record. I don't know, and I would maybe look to the district attorney for assistance on this, if this would be a workshop, a publicly noticed workshop, or if it would be a formal commission meeting. But to talk about the criteria and if there's areas we want to refine, opening it up to, public input and assisting artists and organizations when they have to apply for grants. So something to discuss.
What do you think, Todd? Should we have a workshop that's noticed to the public just to deal with this whole issue?
Can I ask a
Of the
question real
grants?
quick, Todd? How did we do it last time? Was it in the public, or did a small group get together from Sierra's office? How did this criteria come about initially?
Well, that was kind of just presented by Sierra. Deborah and Sierra looked at what was in the past, looked at what worked, what didn't, tried to put new ideas together, and then it came to the board. You have to understand, when you run a public board, you have to work in the public.
Mhm.
We can't be doing this, so that we'll come back and give you an idea of what we talked about. No, it has to be open to the public.
Well, they could develop the criteria or adjust it and then bring it before this board, whatever their suggestions are, right? That would be my recommendation, is that the Arts and Culture Division of Parks and Recreation develop some criteria or improve it or change it, and then bring those suggestions to this board. That's who I'm talking about, Dan.
That's just Dan
Dan
gets
and
to
his
do this?
staff.
We are working on hiring a new arts and culture supervisor. It'd be a
Yeah.
great project.
Yeah. So in the meantime, we could suggest a couple of people who might just work with you, like a couple of members of the board work with staff.
Instead of designating particular members to work, I would just leave it up to Dan or to whomever's hired to talk with particular board members, and the person who's hired can reach out and get feedback.
Good idea. So I'm just going to suggest to you, think about it, and before you leave the room, suggest to Dan that you might be willing to be helpful. I think,
And I'd like to be helpful. I'll be helpful.
okay. So before you leave, the next item is now, at this moment, anybody in the public who now wants to make a comment, please come and sign yourself in. No, you just, for the record. No.
All right, for the record, my name is Rebecca Phipps, and I am the city grant administrator. So I've been sitting here
Tearing
wanting
your
to,
hair out.
wanting to, yeah, say things. First of all, grants are very specific. They are like contracts. And when an organization is awarded a grant, they can't spend it willy-nilly. They have to spend it according to federal law, and they have to spend it on the basis of what they applied for. So the idea that it doesn't matter, we're going to give them money, that's not true.
Not true.
No, not at all. And then also, I'm here in my office, I can help you. Okay, I can provide training, I can provide all sorts of work. So that's all I have to say. But
I wish you had come up under public comments at the beginning. Would
I
have been
didn't.
Very helpful.
I did not realize what help I could give. And I'm also here as a member of the public. I'm not here in my position, so.
Because everything we do has to be public. And when you give money to something, that's what it has to be used for. You cannot say, well, we'll put it over here.
No, and then also, I mean, if you're, the way this, from what I understand, I don't know, I could be wrong, the way this is set up, your points that were assigned to the applications are the driver to how you give the money. And so, and I'm also a representative of Nevada Dance Company. I'm not involved in the grant writing there. I'm not involved here. But I could say that, say if you decided, they came in ranked number 1. If you decided not to give them money, that would be a problem because they had the top rank. It's perfectly fine that you don't give money to ranks 9, 10, 11. You can figure out how you're going to give the money, but your ranking is really how your decision should be made.
Yeah. I think we all have that pretty much. Also, will the awardees also understand that they have a certain time period and they have to have receipts and they have to have a report?
That
for
is
the year is
all,
up.
that's all city policy.
All
So-
gotta be,
Yeah,
Put
and
in
I'm
the public.
sure the Parks and Rec has all of
Oh,
that
they
figured
have.
out.
yeah.
Yeah, so once we go, I mean, obviously, the next step is to present this to the board, but then once that's finally approved, then we'll be working together on that packet and, notifying the grantees, and the process and what we expect and the reporting and all the whole process. So the next year.
Okay. So my final comment is if you know folks, artists and folks in town, in the area, whom you think ought to know about this potential, we need to inform them. I don't know, other than being on the website, how does it get out there? And I think that's a big problem all across the board, is that there's just very little information that gets out there. Thank you all. This has been exhausting for everyone, but I think getting through this was a good exercise in what it means to serve on this board. It's not easy. Thank you for your time. Thank everyone. Nothing else for the good of the order. The meeting is adjourned.